Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me today. We will be doing the Not Again weave, and this was originally contributed by Tourmaline. This is a free video, although I do have kits available if you'd prefer to purchase a kit that has everything ready to go for you. I will also be listing in the description the supplies used to make this. Before we get started, if you are watching this video and you like having free videos like this available to you, please be sure to like and follow us on YouTube. It really helps our channel and enables us to move forward and offer you more. So please go ahead and do that, even if you're not going to purchase a kit or supplies from us. All of this is available at beadmeastory.com. And I will just say, I went ahead and did this with square wire jump rings as well as round jump rings. We've got the larger size as well as the smaller size in this, so you can kind of work in whatever sizes are comfortable for you. I know when you're learning, a lot of times the larger size can be easier to work with. You can see a little bit more of what's going on, but this isn't a particularly small size. These are 20 gauge 3/16 and in the square 18 gauge 3/16. So all of the rings in this that you're seeing are very comfortable sizes to work with. I think you'll have a great time making this, and of course you can do this in just round jump rings as well. I think you'll get the gist of this as we go along of how this can be done in all sorts of different orientations. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start this weave, you can see I've gone ahead and laid out some rows, but let's talk about the jump rings first. So I'm using 18 gauge 1/4 inch square jump rings, and you can see these are open and these are closed. So this is a 50-50 split. So half of my jump rings are open and half of them are pre-closed, and this is really the first row that we're going to concern ourselves with. Okay, I'm going to take these away. These are going to be added later. These are our open jump rings in the round jump rings, and then this is what we're going to make our original row with. So you see the same thing with the round jump rings. I've got 50% of them open and 50% of them closed. Okay, so to start this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a smaller jump ring. In this case, I'm using a 20 gauge 1/8, which is what I'm going to use at the end of this to attach my clasp. But I don't want to do that right now. It's just easier to get the work started. And this, unusually so, is actually a difficult end to work. So we'll definitely go through that thoroughly when we get to the end of our chain. Okay, so I'm just closing this on here. Okay, and okay, I'm gonna flip it this way. So what I'm trying to get is my fuchsia, in this case, my dragon fruit ring is sitting on top of the square gunmetal ring. Okay, so this is how I want each and every row after it to look like. So I'm going to remove these open dragon fruit rings. We're just going to work on our 2x1 by 2x1 chain. Okay, so basically I'm going to take an open square jump ring, and I'm always going to come up through the square ring first and then through the round ring. Okay, so go through the square and then the round. Pick up a round, pick up a square, and close. We're just making a simple chain to start our work on. This part's really easy. Okay, and you can see when I lay that out, that leaves my rings all in the same spot. If I can lay them flat, they want to flop around. Okay, so see how I have in the back, or further away from me, the fuchsia rings are running, and then I've got the gunmetal on the bottom. Okay, and I'm just going to continue to add to this row until I have this to the length I'm going to need it to be. So again, dragon fruit, and then the square ring. So round ring and square ring. The round rings will be side by side, basically, so that as you flip that back open, everything's on the same side. Okay, so we're just going to continue to do this until we have a full length of chain to work with. And we've used all the rings that we want to use. So basically that means that we will be using all of our closed square rings and all of our closed open rings, or I'm sorry, closed rings in the round jump rings, and then we're going to use all of the open jump rings and our square jump rings. And then after we do all that, we're going to leave these open round jump rings to work this chain with. Okay, so you can see that I have my whole chain ready, and as I lay this down, I'm just going to show you again that I'm making sure that the round jump ring is to the top and back, okay, as opposed to, you know, I could flip it over where it was underneath, but that's not where I want this right now. Okay, so now I'm going to use my round rings that I have left over. These are all open, and we're going to go ahead and apply these to the chain. So here is what is going to happen. So I'm going to pick up my chain, and as I said, where that round ring is sitting, you want that kind of on top and to the back. And we're going to come up through the square ring of the very first row. We're going to pass down through the round ring, and this is the only tricky part. Okay, so I went up, and then I'm going to come back down through the round ring that's above it. And then I'm going to, this is the ring that linked the two rows together. Okay, so this was one of my open jump rings. I'm going to skip that. This is going to become part of this row, and this is skipping over to the third row, and I'm just going to go down through the square jump ring that's there. Okay, and then we'll close. So I'm going to go through that again. We need to do that now that we have our full chain made up. We're going to need to do that the full length of the chain. Okay, so that ring that I just added was part of the second row. Okay, so I've got a first row, this is a pair of jump rings, a round one and a square one. And now the second row now has a square and a round. And then the third row has a round and a square. Okay, so the next ring that we're going to add to this is going to go through this third row. So again, I'm going to come up through this jump ring, through the square jump ring. I'm going to go back down through the round jump ring, this part of this row. I'm going to come across this row, and then we're going to pass down through this ring that's right here. Okay. Let me pick up my work. Okay, and you can see I kind of push that ring up, so it's obviously sitting on top and back away from me. Coming up through the square ring, down through the round ring. Okay, and once I do that, I'm going to cross over to that next square ring. And close. Okay, so this ends up being just a 2 by 2 by 2 chain. Really, it's just that this ring that we're adding is giving it a little bit of a Persian pattern to it. Okay, so you can see these right here, this one and this one, and those are the ones that I'm adding now. Okay, so let's do this one more time. I'm going to come up through the square jump ring. Now, just to point this out, this will be the one you just went down through when you added that last ring. We're in that same row. So I'm coming up, I'm coming back down through my round jump ring, and then back down through the square ring that's beside it. Okay, and that's all there is to this weave. It's really very, very simple. There's a lot we're going to be able to do with it. But for now, just go ahead and keep continuing to add these rings in, up through the square ring, down through the round ring that's above it. We're going to cross over this ring, just avoid it completely, and then we'll come back down through the square ring that belongs to this next row. Okay, so up through here, down, across, and then down through this ring. Okay, so just continue on, and when you get to the end of the row, I will come back to show you how to finish this up. Okay, so to finish off our chain, I just want to show you here that at the beginning of our chain, our square ring is on the low side. And of course, this is kind of an on the bias weave, so we want to make sure that over on this side that we end with the square ring being on the high side rather than the low side. Okay, so I'm just going to simply take my final square jump ring. This was left over when I linked my closed rings together in that initial chain. I had one of these left over. Okay, and that's going to be high. And then my final round jump ring, I'm going to do the same thing with this as I've been doing all along with all the rows. I'm going to come up through my square ring, down through the round ring, and then there's no new row to attach it to. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this. Okay, so now I am ready to attach my clasp. Okay, and then these were the last two rings that I attached. So we're going to be going through the eye that's between these two jump rings, and then I'm going to make sure to bring this up and around straight. You know, you want to make sure that your chain did not get twisted while you were bringing that up and around. Okay, so we've got that. And then I need to hook through both those jump rings again. Don't think I opened these quite enough. I'm struggling. Just gonna open them a little bit more. Okay. And that flipped over while I was doing that. So again, make sure everything's straight. Okay. So see how we just passed those through the eye. And if you prefer, you can leave it there, but I'm gonna add two more. I'm just gonna add one over here and one over here. The more jump rings you can attach to the clasp, really usually the better, because it's just gonna make your end stronger. Okay, so I'm gonna pass through there, and then this last one's gonna go through the round jump ring that's right here. Okay, and that is all there is to that. Okay, so to finish this video, I just showed you how to finish this with a 2-hole clasp, and then I just wanted to show you, this is the smaller version of this bracelet, and since it is just so much thinner, I just simply passed through the eye between the first and last jump rings. Okay, here's the end row, and here's the starting row. Okay, and this didn't need 4 jump rings because I'm just putting a simple clasp on here. So you can do this way as well as this 2-hole clasp version that I showed you. Either way will work fine. It just kind of worked out better with the thickness of the particular bracelet I was working with. So, you know, feel free to do this in whatever way you see fit. I know clasps are kind of a personal thing and everybody has ones that they prefer to use. So, you know, feel free to experiment with this part and see what you can come up with. I hope you enjoyed this project today, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me.